Hello, Bl'Artagnan here with another take on Boss Rush 3. This is a continuation of my little mini Exdeath saga. And there in the middle we got the tree himself. Gonna be relying a little bit on synergy to get through this. Bringing Trey and Ishtola, so 2 synergy characters, which makes a pretty significant difference, as you'll end up seeing. Beyond that, you'll notice that in Wave 1 we're not bringing Gladio, despite him being absolutely bonkers this wave. Exdeath actually subs in pretty decently for Gladio, with a bit of off-turn damage and some tremendous mitigation through his giant attack down. You see I also dropped the Bronth Call early there, just to get the HP damage rolling. So the main goal with this wave, if you're not using the Gladio thing, is basically just not to get broken by these guys, nothing fancy. And between Pestil's defense up and Exdeath's attack down, I think we should be in a pretty safe position. Other than that, it's just, hit him and hit him and hit him. Still getting used to using Trey, but I believe it's best to use his skills when they're fully charged, even if the EX is up, because that queues up the off-turn damage and makes that happen more often. Not 100% on that, but that's how I've been playing him at least. So I figured I'd want either Pestil or Sarah to help out with Exdeath to kind of make up for the fact that we weren't doing Gladio counters. And I ended up going with Pestil so that I'd have a healer, especially for the second wave. You'll also see that I used the Hope Call there with Exdeath. That was actually a holdover from the run I did with Gladio, from a run I had done with Gladio. But I ended up using it here just to push off those debuffs and kind of protect our stats a bit. Might not have been, the best call to bring, but, got the job done. I'm sure I could have brought something a bit flashier that would have done more. You can see there, the power of Exdeath's attack downs are, really kind of helping keep us safe even against these beetles who tend to have very, very high attack. This is me thinking about possibly using the Hope Call to push off the debuff again, but I don't want to waste the debuff that the LD drops. I'll end up saving it for the next wave. So there, we're going to need to refresh things on B. We're making pretty good time here. First off, let's get Firewall back up and running on them. Queue up the Maelstrom and Curse. Something to note actually is that the debuff from his Almagest skill, Curse, actually does more off-turn damage than his LD Maelstrom does. So you'll actually see at different points in the fight, I'll choose to use Almagest before using Maelstrom, even though, kind of traditionally you do the LD first for the free skill, because Exdeath has more than enough skills for how many turns we're going to be taking, and sometimes I just want to get the higher damage debuff on them before, if they're about to take a bunch of turns. Now we're just trying to kind of muscle them down. We're saving the second Bronth Call for the second wave, trying to kind of get as much done there as possible. So for now it's just trying to, do as much off-turn damage here as we can, since that doesn't count against our turn limit. And we're pretty safe at this point. You're seeing them still kind of hitting ones this late in the fight. Or hitting zeros in that case. going to save that launch on A, in hopes of finding a better time for it. Although it ends up not actually mattering because I decide, you know what, this is close enough. Let's just end this. Ends up not quite working out the way I'd hoped because I end up having to use another skill to kill the other one. I was hoping that I could kill them both in one fell swoop there. I probably would have been better served to actually just EX and let the off-turn damage kill them, but live and learn. I actually ended up having to reset this wave, which is why it jumped there. Made a silly mistake toward the end of it, so I had to do a quick reset. But this team is also pretty well equipped to handle this wave. Kind of the same story. Cecil is fantastic against these guys in terms of protecting you from their big hits. We're getting more protection now from Hope, pushing off the debuffs I'd mentioned and getting the debuff on them. I'm okay kind of throwing it out early, even though I know once they go under 80 they cleanse, because I don't have enough room for all of the team's debuffs plus Gabranth and Hope's calls. So I figure I'll just get a bit of value here from Hope's call. Possibly? Honestly, I might have been capping even without it, but I think it probably helps Trey's traps at least. There we go. Something I noticed is, there we go, that's debuff number 1 with the Gabranth. They'll delay themselves for the 80%, but I don't know if they do it for the 50%, so you have to be a bit careful. That was actually the mistake I made, was I expected them to delay once I brought them below 50, and they didn't, and that left me in an awkward position. So you see here I put Almagest on them, or Curse on them, before putting Diffusing Vortex in order to get that 20,000 damage poison instead of the 10,000 that you get from the LD. I mean, the LD's still good, you know, it puts Bud of Darkness on them, all that jazz, but I think in these kind of situations, sometimes it's actually better to use Almagest before using Maelstrom. You're only probably missing out on maybe 10 to 20,000 damage if you do it the other way around, depending on their turn order, but optimizations, I guess. Getting pretty low. Again, we want to be mindful of the fact that they're going to cleanse all their debuffs and kind of go into kill mode once they go under that threshold. So here, I'm trying to be delicate, but I end up actually pushing them under anyway. I'm trying to debate, you know, do I want to do more Amy turn stuff, and I don't really want to be risky here, so just gonna hit him as hard as we can in the sum and try to do as much damage as we can before the next team comes in. And speaking of damage, I love using Exdeath EX, it's really satisfying. Okay, we'll have one more use of Cecil's LD to buff up the orb, which is nice. There we go. I think Trey gets one more attack before we switch to the next team. Now, what we have here, because I'm really nervous about wave 3, I'm not bringing Synergy to that wave, and those guys have some scary damage reduction. So I'm bringing a variation of Squack's Airlines to this one. Shocking, I know. In this case, we're bringing Aerith instead of Dark Knight Cecil. She still brings some HP damage up, and she brings good battery and healing to manage this orb here while we try to kill them. I know it always feels weird to use Kais and Cloud and let the enemy get turns. It feels good to use Aerith alongside Cloud for obvious reasons. They actually they play well together, and that feels good, you know. nervous about their tail stance here. So I end up using Ham Call in hopes of kind of reducing their damage. I'm actually not sure if it's magic damage, I hope it is. I get lucky with a paralyze there. Cutting it real close with that orb. They end up not actually doing the big burst laser, at least not at that point. So, seems my worrying's for nothing. I sometimes forget about Cecil. On top of being a fantastic, cheese launch enabler, he's also just a decent utility support character. I've talked elsewhere about, his bonus crit rate, and there you see just the handy AoE delay is nice. Here, don't want to deal with another all attack while their tail's up, so we bring out the Jack Call just in case his regular skill 1 isn't able to kill. Lucky little miss there. I don't think it would have made a huge difference, but it's me realizing that Seal Eater is about to fall off. Oh, lucky that it did miss, because that gives us what we need to. Never mind. I was hoping to kill with the LD there to save an action, but guess I'll just use this as an opportunity to refresh Mako. Now, the real reason these guys are here. I actually had to reset on this wave as well because I forgot to apply Kai'Sa's LD before going into Cloud's Burst, and I didn't like the amount of damage I was losing on that, so I thought I'd try to do this properly. So see there, intentionally not using the launch on Kais, so that we can use it on Aerith. A, for the bigger battery up for Cloud, and B, so that Kais can get his debuff on there. So, Aerith's definitely a decent filler for in place of Dark Knight Cecil here, with her own HP damage up debuff in place of what he normally brings. I think he still is great for his delays and his on-demand launches and all that jazz, but it's nice to know that you can bring a little variation to this team after kind of tunnel visioning for a while with the ideal setup. It's kind of a reminder that you don't have to use the kind of the prefabricated box, team in a box to make things work. Sometimes you can just kind of tweak it a little, get some good results. Now we're all set up and ready to do this thing. Kais is right behind Cloud where we want him. So we're starting with the free finishing touch in order to queue up a launch from the LD into another finishing touch, which we're going to then go into the EX after that. I prefer using the EX over cross slash during the burst phase, just because sometimes when you're doing Cloud delay launch stuff, you can forget. It can be easy to forget about keeping his Mako buff up, and so that's just kind of a free opportunity to keep his buff refreshed. I guess there's situations where you really want the paralyze, but I don't know, preference. And here we're targeting the one who wasn't hit. We're targeting the one who was hit by the last finishing touch, so that we have a free launch lined up on A. If we'd used the burst on A, it would have wasted that launch, I think. Once again, not targeting A because we want to let Aerith do that. We're also going to be going into Pandemonium pretty soon to get that bonus damage on launch from that. I probably could have gone in way sooner. I was sandbagging it a little bit. And after seeing the amount of damage we end up putting out, well in some, I kind of regret not doing it. Decide how I want to play this out. Decide to go with the free launch into not free launch setup. With that, it's on to the last wave. At this point, any action, any damage we can get out from this team is going to just be kind of great. The third team we're bringing to this is well equipped to handle this wave. It really just comes down to padding it as much as we can here, through delays, through damage, and summon. Have Kais uses LD mostly for damage and battery. He also has a sap effect, but that's not really going to be coming up. One thing I want to be mindful of here is I don't have Setzer call, which I intend to use on these guys, and so I'm actually going to tag out a bit early, because I'm not 100% sure how many actions I've taken since it started in the summon, and I don't want to run afoul of them going to their spined mode. So I'm going to hit them a bunch. And kind of looking at the turn count and guesstimating, like, how many turns do I have until they go into it? I don't know. I don't know if it counts the actions in the summon. I think it does. And I'm trying to running the math, and I decide, you know what? I'm going to play it safe here. Would have really liked Ununite to go before Squall, but several resets did not lead to that happening. I kind of gave up. So now, there we go. We got that chant. We got the Setzer call. We're reasonably confident these guys are going to be spiking pretty soon. Messing up the break order there, but we'll live. And unlike my last run, we can actually use Setzer and Jack Call here because we're running with the only debuff that the team is bringing organically is Y'shtola's Stone Defense down, which honestly I probably could have gotten rid of it, but I was feeling lazy and did it. I'm sure it would have been way better to just unequip the passive from her and use like Hope Call or something. Using Y'shtola's LD there to get a rebreak in order to lower their thingy. Now using Jack Call to get a little damage and reset their break again. These snakes can be a giant pain in the butt, but if you Setzer Call with a team that can do this kind of keep away setup, it really kind of dunks on them, which is nice. I enjoy me a good dunking, especially after all the headaches that I ran into trying to beat this with that synergy. So my game plan here is I want to let them go into spine mode once again and break that, and then go into Squall's burst. Because I definitely don't want them in the spine form during the burst because they take reduced damage, and at this point I'm not really paying attention to when they happen or where we're at in terms of actions. In case you haven't guessed, this team's a little bit brain dead. Although Y'shtola's is a lot of fun to use. I like the fast delays with the stone. I like the rebreaks. I looked up what a flatus means for a flatus misery. Apparently it's like Latin for inspiration or a gust of wind or something, which is cool and fitting. And I don't know. Who said video games can't be educational? Now you know something. I still think it sounds like, I don't know, something you wouldn't talk about in polite company, though. So now we're going to go ahead and get through this second spine phase, second or third, I've lost count. At this point, we're feeling pretty good. Get the ice enchant up again. Don't want that falling off, that'd be awkward. The EX, go ahead and heal in case they die in burst or something and we don't want to miss the turn thing. There's the Afflatus Misery, and now it's burst time. This is a relatively unboosted burst phase. Squall's enchanted, but he's not really getting battery. We don't have an overwhelming number of debuffs on them or anything. It's still doing not so damage because Squall's kind of goofy. the super synergy bonus certainly doesn't hurt there. Really, one pain I've noticed is it's really hard to see the enemy A's health. Usually your second person's icons are going to get in the way of it and just make it really hard to see. I hope they do something to fix that. That'd be a nice little quality of life thing for them to touch up, because you either have to guess or just kind of remember in between attack animations. In any case, as you can see, we got through here without much trouble. So yeah, I guess let's chalk another victory up for Exdeath and company. Although being realistic, chalk another victory up for Super Synergy. Oof, that's a hell of a drug. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Consider liking the video to maybe raise its visibility, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Adios.